Have you ever wondered if that old coin in your pocket or collection could be worth a fortune? Some rare coins have sold for millions of dollars, making them some of the most valuable collectibles in the world. In this video, we'll explore the most valuable coins and what makes them worth so much. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss this. First up, the 1943 Lincoln Steel penny with the S mint mark. If you're a coin collector or just curious about this fascinating piece of US coinage, stick around as we explore its value in today's market and what makes this coin so special. Let's dive right in. The 1943 Lincoln Steel penny is a fascinating coin, not only because of its unique material, but also because of the historical circumstances surrounding its creation. In 1943, during World War II, there was a significant shortage of copper, which led the US Mint to switch from the traditional copper alloy to a steel composition for pennies. The result, a coin that looks completely different from the usual bronze pennies. On the obverse of the coin, you'll still find the image of Abraham Lincoln, along with the year 1943. But unlike other pennies, this one has a striking silver-gray appearance due to the steel composition. The reverse features the classic wheat ears with E pluribus unum and 1 cent written across the bottom. Now let's focus on the S mint mark. If you have a 1943 steel penny with an S mint mark, that means it was minted in San Francisco. The S mint mark is important because it makes the coin slightly rarer than the ones minted in Philadelphia or Denver. So if you find one of these in your collection, it's definitely worth taking a closer look. Remember, the S mint mark is located just beneath Lincoln's shoulder on the obverse side of the coin. It's easy to spot, but not all 1943 steel pennies have the S, and that rarity can increase the value of your coin. When determining the value of the 1943 steel penny, the condition of the coin plays a big role. The good condition is what we're focusing on today, and in this grade, the coin shows noticeable wear but retains the key details. In good condition, you'll still be able to make out Lincoln's image and the wheat ears on the reverse, though they may be worn down. The coin will have some scuffing and discoloration from years of circulation, but the overall design is still recognizable. So, how much is the 1943 Lincoln Steel penny with the S mint mark worth today? In good condition, you can expect it to be valued around $80 to $120. While this isn't one of the highest-priced coins in the market, it's still a valuable piece for collectors, especially those focusing on the unique steel pennies from 1943. Prices can vary depending on the coin's exact condition, so if yours is in better shape, it could fetch more. But in general, a good condition. 1943 steel penny with the S mint mark is worth about $100 to $200. Keep in mind that the value of coins can fluctuate over time, so always check the latest market trends. Now, you might be wondering, why does this coin stand out among other pennies? Well, the 1943 steel penny was produced for a specific reason: World War II. Due to wartime material shortages, the US Mint had to use steel instead of copper for pennies. This made the 1943 steel penny one of the most unique coins ever made in US history. What makes the S mint mark version even more interesting is that, although a large number were minted in San Francisco, these steel pennies were produced in massive quantities, and many were heavily used during their time in circulation. This is why, even in good condition, they still have value and are a popular choice for collectors. Up the 1948 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark. But there's a twist. This coin is in full bad condition. You might be surprised at its value in today's market. Let's check it out. Alright, let's start with the basics. The 1948 wheat penny, minted in Philadelphia, is part of the famous series that ran from 1909 to 1958. These coins feature Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and 2 ears of wheat on the reverse. But what makes the 1948 penny unique, especially the one without a mint mark? Most coins have a mint mark to indicate where they were produced, a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. But the 1948 penny without a mint mark was minted in Philadelphia. That means this coin has a special connection to its place of origin. Now, here's where things get interesting. The condition of a coin is everything in determining its value. In the world of coin collecting, we have a grading scale from good to mint state. But today, we're talking about a full bad condition coin. And you might think, how much could a coin like this be worth? Well, let's take a closer look. Despite the rough condition, even a 1948 wheat penny without mint mark can still have some value. In full bad condition, or what we call good or fair condition in numismatic terms, this coin typically goes for around $96,000. Yes, you heard me right. It might not break the bank, but it still has worth. So why does it still have value, even in this poor condition? Well, despite wear and tear, every penny in the wheat series has intrinsic historical value. The 1948 penny, especially without a mint mark, is still sought after by collectors because of its age, its association with the iconic Lincoln design, and its connection to the era. If you find a 1948 penny in your collection, even in bad condition, don't throw it away. Here's a tip. Always check the condition, and if you're unsure about its value, consider consulting with a professional coin appraiser or checking a trusted online guide like the Red Book. You never know when a coin could be worth more than you think. So, while a 1948 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark in full bad condition might not make you rich, it's a great example of how even less than perfect coins can hold historical value. And if you're lucky enough to have one in your collection, it's still worth holding on to. Next up, the 1943 Lincoln Steel Penny. This particular penny is a bit special because it doesn't have a mint mark, making it slightly different from other pennies of the same year. If you've got one of these in your collection or are just curious about its value, stick around. In this video, we'll break down everything you need to know about this penny and what it's worth in today's market. Let's get started. The 1943 Lincoln Steel Penny is one of the most unique coins ever minted by the U.S. Mint. Why? Well, during World War II, the U.S. faced a severe copper shortage, which led the mint to produce pennies from steel instead of the usual copper. This makes the 1943 steel penny stand out because, as most collectors know, it has a silver-gray color instead of the familiar coppery tone. Now, let's talk about the version we're focusing on today. The 1943 Lincoln Steel penny without a mint mark. In 1943, pennies were minted in 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins minted in Philadelphia didn't have a mint mark, while Denver and San Francisco coins had their respective D and S mint marks. The 1943 steel pennies minted in Philadelphia, like the one we're discussing today, are often the most commonly found. But don't let that fool you. While these coins might seem easy to overlook, they still carry some value, especially in certain conditions. When it comes to the value of a coin, condition is everything. And with the 1943 steel penny, fine condition means the coin has some wear, but the details are still legible. The overall design is still visible, but Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks on the reverse may show moderate wear. It's not in mint condition, but it's still in a very collectible state. So, how much is the 1943 Lincoln Steel penny without a mint mark worth in today's market? Well, in fine condition, you can expect this penny to be worth anywhere from 50 cents to $1.50, depending on factors like demand, rarity, and specific coin characteristics. While this penny isn't one of the highest valued coins on the market, it still holds some worth, especially for collectors looking to complete a set of 1943 steel pennies. The lack of a mint mark on this coin makes it a bit more common than those minted in Denver or San Francisco, but it's still a coin that has maintained its historical importance. It's also worth noting that if you find a 1943 steel penny in better condition, such as very fine or extremely fine, its value can increase significantly, sometimes reaching $150 to $180 or more, depending on the coin's overall quality and any unique characteristics. So why is the 1943 steel penny so special? Well, as we mentioned earlier, it was produced during World War II when the U.S. faced copper shortages. The U.S. Mint had to get creative and use steel instead, which led to this distinctive penny. The steel composition not only gives the coin its unique look, but also makes it a symbol of wartime ingenuity. The 1943 steel penny is a reminder of the challenges the country faced during that era, and it's part of a coin series that captures a pivotal moment in American history. Next up, the 1937 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark. But this isn't just any penny. We're talking about one in very fine condition. What's its value in today's market? Stick around to find out. So, let's start with some basics. The 1937 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny is part of the long-running series that was minted from 1909 to 1958. These pennies are iconic for their design, featuring a profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front and a reverse with 2 ears of wheat on each side of the coin's value. The 1937 penny specifically is part of a series that saw some very interesting shifts in the US economy. Now, you may be wondering, what does the mint mark have to do with the value of this penny? Well, mint marks tell us where a coin was produced. For example, D means it was minted in Denver, and an S means San Francisco. But the 1937 penny without any mint mark means it was minted in Philadelphia. At the time, most pennies were produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and this coin reflects that. It's important because the absence of a mint mark on this penny makes it a little more intriguing, as some collectors pay close attention to mint mark variations for different years. One of the most important factors in determining a coin's value is its condition. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state, with various grades in between. In this case, we're talking about a coin in very fine condition. So, what does that mean? In very fine condition, the coin still shows clear details, but it has some light wear from circulation. The design is still sharp, and you can clearly make out Abraham Lincoln's facial features and the wheat ears on the reverse. However, you may notice a slight loss of detail in the fields and around the coin's edges. At the time of this video, a 1937 Lincoln wheat penny in very fine condition without a mint mark typically ranges in value from about $1.50 to $3. That's right. For a coin in very fine condition, you could be looking at a value that's several times higher than its face value, but don't expect to find these pennies just lying around. Although it's not as rare as some of the earlier years in the wheat penny series, a coin in this condition is still quite desirable for collectors, and its value can vary slightly depending on the exact grading and demand in the market. Now, you might be asking, what makes a coin like this worth more than others? Well, the value of a coin is determined by several key factors. First, there's rarity. While the 1937 penny itself was minted in large quantities, finding one in very fine condition is rarer than you might think. Many of these coins were circulated heavily, and finding one in great shape requires some patience and luck. Second, there's demand. Certain years or mint variations are more popular with collectors, especially those who specialize in the Lincoln Wheat Penny series. The 1937 penny is relatively common, but a coin in good condition, like the one we're talking about, is always in demand. Lastly, condition is everything. The better the condition, the higher the value. Coins that are well preserved with no significant scratches, dents, or discoloration are worth significantly more than those that are worn or damaged. You can always check online marketplaces like eBay, specialized coin dealers, or even local coin shops to get an estimate of what your coin might be worth. But make sure you do your homework. Get it graded by a professional like the American Numismatic Association, ANA, if you want a more precise value. And if you're thinking of selling, make sure to compare prices from trusted sources. Prices can fluctuate based on market trends, so it's good to know exactly what you have. Now, is the 1937 Lincoln Wheat Penny a good investment? Well, while it may not be as valuable as some of the rarer or earlier pennies in the series, it's still a solid investment for coin collectors looking to build a complete set. With the right condition, these pennies can increase in value over time, especially as demand for coins from this era continues. Next up, the 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny with the D mint mark in very fine condition. This particular penny is often overlooked, but it has some interesting details that make it a valuable piece for collectors. In this video, we'll take a look at its history, features, and most importantly, its value in today's market. Let's get started. The 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny is part of the iconic Lincoln Memorial series that was introduced in 1959. However, this coin belongs to the Wheat Penny series that ran from 1909 to 1958. It features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, which is one of the most recognizable designs in U.S. coinage history. One of the standout features of the 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny is its large date design. The large date refers to the size of the numerals used for the year. In 1956, there were actually two different date styles, the large date and a small date variety. The large date is the more common of the two, but it's still important to know which one you have when determining the value of your coin. As you can see, the numerals in the large date version are much bigger and bolder, which is why it's called the large date penny. For collectors, knowing the difference can impact the value, especially when you're dealing with coins in higher grades. Now, let's talk about the condition. In the world of coin collecting, the condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining its value. A 1956 Lincoln wheat penny in very fine condition is one that shows some wear, but not too much. You'll still see clear details in Lincoln's hair, and the wheat stalks on the reverse will remain well defined. In very fine condition, you'll notice that the coin has been circulated but not excessively worn down. The features are still sharp, and there are minimal scratches or damage. A coin in this condition is ideal for collectors who want a coin that retains most of its original detail, but is still within a reasonable price range. So, how much is the 1956 Lincoln wheat penny with the D mint mark worth today? In very fine condition, this coin typically ranges between $150 and $270. It's not a super rare or high-value penny, but it's still a nice addition to any collection. While the 1956 D wheat penny isn't considered one of the most valuable coins, it holds steady in the market, particularly for those looking to complete their Lincoln penny collections. If you happen to find one in even better condition, such as extremely fine or uncirculated, the value could increase to $300 or more. What makes the 1956 D wheat penny interesting is that it marks the end of the wheat penny series. The following year, in 1959, the design was replaced with the Lincoln Memorial design, which is still used today. So, this coin represents the last years of the classic wheat design. While this particular penny doesn't have the high value of some other rarer years, its historical significance and design make it a favorite among many collectors, especially those looking to complete a full set of Lincoln wheat pennies. Next up, the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny with the D mint mark. But here's the twist. This coin is in full damage condition. You might be thinking, can a damaged coin still have value? Well, stick around because we're going to find out just how much this penny is worth in today's auction market. All right, collectors, the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny with the D mint mark is a popular coin for collectors, but today we're focusing on one that's seen better days. This penny has full damage, and I mean serious damage, deep scratches, corrosion, and plenty of wear. But even with all that, you'd be surprised at what these pennies can still go for in today's market. Here's a close-up of the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny with the D mint mark. As you can see, it's in rough shape. The front, or obverse, features heavy wear on Abraham Lincoln's portrait, and the reverse, or back, shows signs of significant scratching and surface damage. Despite these flaws, it's important to remember that even damaged coins can have value, especially if they're from a popular series like the Lincoln wheat pennies. So what exactly causes the damage on coins like this one? Damage can come from a variety of sources: harsh cleaning, improper handling, environmental exposure, and even accidents. This coin likely spent a lot of time circulating, and the damage is the result of everyday wear and tear. But how much is this penny worth, even in its condition? Let's take a closer look at its value. Before we talk about value, let's quickly touch on coin grading. Coins are graded based on their appearance, with higher grades representing better condition. For this penny, we're looking at a coin in full damage condition, which means it's significantly worn and has visible damage. Coins like this are usually graded somewhere between poor and fair depending on how bad the damage is. Now, you might be wondering, can a damaged coin still be worth something? The answer is yes, but it's all about the rarity and demand. In the case of the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny with a D mint mark, it's not a super rare coin, but it's still a piece of U.S. history. The 1952 penny was produced in large numbers, with over 1 billion coins struck, so its value is usually not sky high, even in better conditions. So how much can you expect this 1952 Lincoln wheat penny to fetch at auction in full damage condition? In today's market, a coin like this typically ranges between $350 to $5, depending on the severity of the damage. Yes, the condition definitely impacts its value, but you can still expect it to be worth more than just face value. And if you're looking to sell, it's important to note that damaged coins may sell for lower prices than their undamaged counterparts. But collectors might still be interested, especially if they're looking for a coin to complete their series. As we can see, even coins in poor or damaged condition can have some value, especially if they're from an iconic series like the Lincoln Wheat pennies. The 1952 penny with the D mint mark isn't going to make you rich in full damage condition, but it's a decent coin for collectors who enjoy tracking down those historical pieces, no matter what condition they're in. So, to wrap things up, the 1952 Lincoln Wheat penny with the D mint mark in full damage condition has an estimated value between $900 on the auction market. While not a high-value coin, it still holds some worth, especially for those who enjoy collecting coins in all kinds of conditions. If you've got one of these in your collection, you're holding on to a piece of history, even if it's not in perfect shape. Next up, the 1946 penny with the D mint mark. This coin may be over 75 years old, but is it valuable today? Let's break down its worth, especially in good condition, and see how much it's worth in today's market. All right, let's get started. The 1946 Abraham Lincoln Wheat penny is part of the famous series minted between 1909 and 1958. The coin features a bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and a reverse with 2 ears of wheat on either side of the denomination. But today, we're specifically focusing on the 1946 penny with the D mint mark now. The mint mark, as some of you know, indicates where the coin was made. A D mint mark means this penny was minted at the Denver Mint. For the 1946 penny, the D mint mark adds a slight distinction from other versions, especially from the Philadelphia Mint, which didn't use a mint mark that year. As many collectors know, mint marks play an important role in coin collecting. The 1946 wheat penny without a mint mark was minted in Philadelphia, but the D mint mark is key here because it tells us this coin came from the Denver Mint. So, why does this matter? Well, the mint mark can affect rarity and sometimes even value. While 1946 was a relatively common year for Lincoln pennies, the version with the D mint mark is just one of several variations to look out for, and it could slightly impact the price. Now, before we talk about its value, let's quickly touch on what good condition means. Coin grading can be a bit confusing, so let's break it down, simply. In numismatic terms, a good condition coin shows significant wear but still has enough detail for identification. The date is legible and the basic design elements are still visible, but the coin may be worn down, with less detail in the fields and on the edges. It's not a coin in pristine shape, but it's still a solid example for collectors. Now, if you're looking at your 1946 penny and wondering if it qualifies as good condition, you should be able to clearly read the year and make out Lincoln's profile and the wheat ears, even if they're a little worn. At the time of filming, a 1946 wheat penny with the D mint mark in good condition is typically valued between 25 cents to $1. Yes, that's right. This coin can still fetch anywhere between 25 cents and $1, depending on the exact condition, the current market demand, and where you're selling it. It's important to note that the price can vary slightly based on the specific grade within the good condition range, the rarity of finding one in that state, and fluctuations in coin market trends. But in general, the 1946 penny with D mint mark is relatively affordable and accessible for most collectors. Now, you might be wondering, why is the 1946 penny worth this much, especially in good condition? Isn't it just a common coin? Well, let's break down why this penny still holds value. First of all, it's important to understand that while 1946 was a relatively abundant year for the Lincoln Wheat penny series, the D mint mark does make it slightly more sought after. The Denver Mint produced millions of these pennies, but not everyone has survived in good condition. Plus, even common coins like the 1946 with D mint mark are part of an iconic series. The Lincoln Wheat pennies are highly collectible because of their historical connection to Abraham Lincoln and their lasting legacy in American coinage. And let's face it, there's always a certain charm to finding one of these coins in your collection. If you're on the hunt for a 1946 wheat penny with the D mint mark, there are several ways to find one. You can check local coin shops, online coin dealers, or even auction sites like eBay. But what should you do if you found one of these pennies and want to sell it? When selling, you'll want to compare prices on trusted websites or consult with a professional coin dealer to get a fair value estimate. You can also get your coin graded by a reputable grading service like the American Numismatic Association or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation to ensure you're getting the best price. Whether you're buying or selling, always do your research. The more you know about the coin's condition and its market value, the better deal you'll get. So, is the 1946 Lincoln Wheat penny with the D mint mark a good investment? Well, it depends on your goals. For serious collectors, this penny is a great addition to a wheat penny collection, especially if you're looking to complete a set of all the different mint marks. However, as far as investment value goes, this penny is not likely to skyrocket in value in the near future. It's a relatively common coin, and the price will mostly stay in the range we've mentioned unless there's a significant shift in demand. But if you're just starting out as a collector or you love the history behind these pennies, the 1946 wheat penny with the D mint mark is a solid coin to hold on to. It's affordable, easy to find, and will likely always be a part of America. Next up, the 1923 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny. This penny may not be the first coin that comes to mind when you think of rare finds, but it's definitely one that collectors keep an eye on. Specifically, we'll be covering the 1923 Lincoln wheat penny with the large date and no mint mark in good condition. So if you're wondering how much this coin is worth today, stick around. Let's start by talking about the 1923 Lincoln wheat penny itself. The coin features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the familiar wheat stalks on the reverse. The wheat penny series ran from 1909 to 1958, and the 1923 version falls into that time frame. This penny is notable for being a part of the early 1920s series, which saw some interesting minting variations. The 1923 penny comes in two versions, the large date and the small date. The one we're focusing on today is the large date, which is the more common version of the two. Now, you might be asking, what exactly is the difference between the large date and small date? The key distinction lies in the size of the numerals in the year 1923. The large date version has larger, bolder numbers, whereas the small date version features smaller numerals. While the large date is the more common version, it's still an important distinction for collectors. And, just to note, this coin comes without a mint mark, meaning it was minted in Philadelphia, the primary mint for pennies at the time. Now, let's talk about the condition, because condition is a huge factor in determining the value of a coin. The 1923 Lincoln wheat penny, in good condition, typically shows noticeable wear. The details of the wheat stalks and Lincoln's portrait will be worn down, but they should still be visible. The overall surface of the coin may show signs of handling and circulation, but the key design features should still be discernible. In good condition, you might notice some flattening of the details, but the basic elements, like the date and Lincoln's features, are still readable. Although it's a more circulated coin, it still holds value for collectors due to its age and relative rarity. So what's the value of a 1923 Lincoln wheat penny with the large date and no mint mark in good condition today? In today's market, this penny typically ranges in value from about $150 to $300, depending on its exact condition and the current demand. While it's not one of the most expensive pennies out there, the 1923 large date penny is still an important and collectible coin. If you happen to find one in better condition like fine or extra fine, the value could jump to $50 or more. And if it's in an uncirculated grade, you could see it fetching even higher prices. So why is the 1923 large date penny worth paying attention to? First, it's part of the classic wheat penny series, which holds a special place in U.S. coinage history. The large date version is particularly important because of its distinctive numerals, and it's a nice find for anyone trying to complete a collection of wheat pennies. While it's not one of the rarest pennies out there, the 1923 large date penny is still a piece of U.S. numismatic history, representing the early years of the 20th century. Now, if you're wondering how to identify a 1923 Lincoln wheat penny in your collection, here's what to look for. First, check the date. The large date will have larger numerals compared to the small date. Then, look for the absence of a mint mark under the date. If there's no D or S, it was minted in Philadelphia. Next up, the 1939 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny, featuring the large date and no mint mark in extra fine condition. Now, this coin might not get the spotlight that some other famous pennies do, but it's definitely one that collectors are always on the lookout for. So if you've got one of these in your collection, or if you're curious about what it's worth today, stick around because we'll be covering everything you need to know. Let's start with a quick overview of the 1939 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Abraham Lincoln has graced the obverse of this penny since 1909, and the reverse features the iconic wheat stalks, which were used from 1909 to 1958. The 1939 penny, especially the large date version, is one that stands out for its relatively large numerals, which are different from the small date variety that was also struck that year. Now, you might notice the no mint mark feature. This means that this particular penny was minted in Philadelphia, which was the primary mint for pennies at the time. Coins without mint marks are often more desirable to collectors, as they tend to be a bit rarer compared to their D or S mint mark counterparts. In 1939, the U.S. Mint struck two different types of pennies, the large date and the small date. The key difference lies in the size of the numbers in the year. The large date features bigger, bolder numerals, while the small date has much smaller ones. The 1939 large date penny is the more common version, but that doesn't mean it's not worth paying attention to. Especially when it comes to condition, the value can go up significantly, as we'll discuss shortly. Speaking of condition, let's talk about how that plays a role in determining the coin's value. In numismatics, the term extra fine means that the coin has seen some circulation, but it's in excellent shape. For a 1939 penny in extra fine condition, you'll see very little wear on the design elements. The wheat stalks will still have sharp lines, and Lincoln's features will be well defined. An extra fine coin will have slight signs of wear, but overall, the details will be crisp and the coin will look very nice. If you have a 1939 penny in this condition, you've got a coin that will attract interest from collectors. So, let's get to the part everyone's wondering about the value of this penny in today's market. In extra fine condition, the 1939 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark typically ranges from about $145 to $200, depending on the current market conditions and the exact quality of the coin. While this penny isn't considered a high-value rarity like some others, it's still a nice find for collectors, and its value can increase based on its grade and demand. Coins in even better condition, like extremely fine or uncirculated, can fetch significantly higher prices, sometimes reaching $80 or more. So why is the 1939 large date Lincoln Wheat Penny so special? For one, it's part of the final years of the Wheat Penny series, which is always a sought-after time for collectors. The transition from the Wheat Penny design to the Lincoln Memorial design in 1959 marked the end of an era, so coins from the late 1930s and early 1940s are especially popular. Additionally, the large date variety stands out to collectors because of its distinct and easily recognizable numerals. It's a great example of the subtle differences that make coin collecting so fascinating. Now, if you're wondering how to identify your 1939 Lincoln Wheat Penny and make sure you have the large date version, it's pretty simple. First, check the date on the coin. The large date will have bigger numbers compared to the small date. Next, look for the absence of a mint mark if there's no D or S under the date. Then it was minted in Philadelphia. Next up, the 1956 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny with the D mint mark. This coin may not be as old as some other rare pennies, but when it's in fine condition, it's still worth more than its face value. Stick around as we dive into its value in today's market and what makes it so collectible. Let's kick things off with a quick introduction. The 1956 Lincoln Wheat Penny is part of the well-known series that ran from 1909 to 1958. These pennies are beloved by collectors due to their classic design featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and 2 ears of wheat on the reverse, which is why they're often called wheat pennies. Now, what makes the 1956 penny stand out from the rest? It's not just the year, it's the D mint mark, which indicates it was minted at the Denver Mint. While the 1956 penny was also produced in Philadelphia and San Francisco, the version with the D mint mark is particularly important for collectors. Let's talk mint marks for a moment. Mint marks tell us where a coin was produced. A D means it was struck at the Denver Mint. For many collectors, the mint mark can affect a coin's value, especially if it's a year with fewer coins produced at that particular mint. In the case of the 1956 wheat penny, while the D mint mark isn't considered rare, it does set this coin apart from the other 1956 pennies minted in Philadelphia. And that little difference can influence its desirability among collectors. Before we talk about the value, let's discuss what we mean by fine condition. Coin grading is a key part of understanding a coin's value, so let's break it down. Coins in fine condition show noticeable wear, but still have clear details. In the case of the 1956 wheat penny, you should be able to make out most of the design features clearly, including Lincoln's profile, the wheat ears on the reverse, and the lettering. The coin has some wear, but it's not heavily damaged or corroded. So, a fine condition. 1956 penny is one that's been circulated but still looks relatively sharp. It's a great coin for any collection, and it's one that can retain some value even after years of circulation. At the time of filming, the value of a 1956 wheat penny with a D mint mark in fine condition generally ranges from 15 cents to $2. Yes, that's right. This penny is worth between 15 cents and $1 in today's market. While it might not be a high dollar coin like some earlier wheat pennies, the 1956 penny is still quite popular among collectors, especially those looking to complete their sets. If you've got a well-preserved one, even in fine condition, you could fetch a decent amount for it. Now, you might be wondering, why is the 1956 penny with the D mint mark valuable, even in fine condition? After all, it's not as old as some of the other rare pennies out there. One of the reasons this coin is valued by collectors is its connection to the famous Lincoln Wheat series, which is incredibly iconic. While the 1956 penny isn't as rare as some other years in the series, it's still a key part of that larger collection. Another reason is that even though the 1956 penny was minted in large numbers, finding one in good condition, particularly in fine condition, makes it more desirable to those building a complete set of Lincoln Wheat pennies. The demand for well-preserved coins from the mid-20th century is always there. If you're looking to add a 1956 wheat penny with D mint mark to your collection, there are a few ways to find one. You can start by checking local coin shops, online marketplaces like eBay, or even coin shows. These pennies are pretty easy to come by, and you can usually find one in a variety of conditions. Once you've got one, whether you're buying or selling, make sure to get it graded if you're uncertain about its value. You can also compare prices on trusted websites to ensure you're getting a fair deal. When selling, online platforms or local dealers are a great way to go, but be sure to do your research before setting a price. So, is the 1956 wheat penny with the D mint mark a good investment? Well, it really depends on what you're looking for in terms of return. As a fine condition coin, it won't likely see massive price jumps in the near future. However, it's still a great coin to have in your collection, especially if you're building a set of Lincoln Wheat pennies. Because it's a relatively common coin, you're not going to see huge investment gains in the short term, but it will likely hold its value and may appreciate over time as collectors continue to seek out well-preserved examples. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Have you come across any 1956 pennies in your collection? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you.